Welcome back, Patriots, for another episode of the Bald Brad Show. It is officially Friday and November 1st, meaning we're 4 days out. 4 days out from the election. And make sure you get out and bubble in Donald J. Trump or the little clicky. Oh, I'm kind of nervous. I was thinking about it before when the countdown was going down. It was making me even more nervous where I don't know what's going to happen. And quite frankly, guys, nobody does. Now, I love the optimism from the Patriots. You guys are way more optimistic than I am. I'm holding on to my whitey tighties that Donald Trump wins this upcoming election. Look, we're a conservative podcast. We don't hide. We don't pretend to be unbiased. We are biased here. Oh, yes, sir. We think conservative Republican values, mostly conservative values, are the best. Couldn't be more than happy to share this fine morning with all of you fine Patriots on this Friday. We made it through another week of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in office. And well, folks, we only have 2 months left of them. Oh, let's hope. Let's hope. Fingers crossed. Now, you can't believe this shit. You won't believe this, right? Mark Cuban comes out and says that no strong women, intelligent women, by the way, and we got a lot of women that watch this show. Did you know our stats is actually a lot higher in terms of what you see from other conservative podcasts, in terms of the amount of women that watch the show? We have a lot of women that watch the Bald Brad Show, which is a pretty remarkable thing compared to other shows. So he says, no strong, intelligent women support President Trump. You can't make this shit up. Can I just break this down before I show you now let's show you the clip first, then we'll break it down. You're right. Let's get into the clip a little bit.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women. Ever. It's just that simple. Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women. Ever.
Oh my God. And look where he's saying it on. Of course, The View. No follow-up, right? There's supposedly Republican women there. There's supposedly, mind you, there's a woman there that was like working with Trump, right? She was like a Trump lady girl. So how is she not speaking up here? You can't write this shit, you guys. Okay, backtrack a little bit here. Trump rally, right? Oh, he's a Nazi, right? It's a Nazi rally from the 1930s coming from Hillary Clinton, right? And all the Democrat party. Tony Hinchcliffe comes out, yada, yada, yada. Tony Hinchcliffe's an insult comic, right? He's a roaster. He's one of the greats. He's a freaking gladiator. He's phenomenal. I'm a big Tony Hinchcliffe fan. And he says, there's this floating thing of garbage out there, and it's called Puerto Rico, right? Mind you, it's in the context of a joke coming from a comedian, meaning you're not supposed to take it literal or serious. Hence the joke. So Democrats lose their stuff because they're like, oh my God, a comedian made a joke. What are we going to do? I can't believe. Well, look, you just lost the election for Donald Trump. The Puerto Ricans aren't going to vote for the guy, blah, blah, blah. Well, then you have, I would imagine, Joe Biden hearing this news and Joe going, I need the spotlight. I'm going to be the hero everybody wants me to be, right? He sits there, unstraps his CPAP machine, and he's struggling getting it off his face, right? He's like, oh, God, I need to get out there. He gets the CPAP off, and he's walking, right, like a zombie from not the new Day of the Dead. I'm talking the old one, right, where it's just, get me in front of a microphone. So he gets in front of a microphone, and he goes, Donald Trump's supporters are garbage. Completely shatters the news cycle for Kamala Harris. Like, that news cycle would have ran up until the election, but Joe Biden goes, no. I got to get out there. So Joe Biden changes the entire news cycle and the entire narrative to talk about how he's calling half the country, 72, 80 million in that range, garbage. Karine Jean-Pierre has to come out with her idiotic slogan and words and phrases and all this stuff. He goes, well, he didn't really mean it. He sent out a tweet to clear things up. When the hell does Joe Biden ever send out a tweet to clear things up? The dude sent out a tweet to allegedly drop out of the race with like a signature that wasn't his, and on some like 8x11 piece of paper that honestly looked like it was just photocopied. Like somebody took it and faxed it to somebody. So we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. So then you have that going on. Going, okay, shit, cleaning up everywhere. Joey doo-dooed his diaper. We got to clean that up. And what he said. Mark Cuban comes out just like 48 hours later. It says, no strong, intelligent women support President Trump. So all these women are coming out now. And well, here's Kellyanne Conway.
Kellyanne Conway with a special message for Mark Cuban and all the other misogynists that support Kamala Harris and love to spew hateful, divisive, sexist rhetoric. Recognize this place? This is the Ellipse, where presently a strong, intelligent woman is speaking without a teleprompter.
Damn.
Recognize that place? That's the White House. Your handpicked candidate, Hillary Clinton, lived there as wife of a president, but not as the president. Donald J. Trump beat her, in part because he is unafraid to surround himself with strong, intelligent, capable men and women.
So she goes on a little bit longer. Oh, we got more. This is Catalina Lauf. By the way, this gorgeous, just gorgeous woman. This is the type of women we get on the Republican side of the aisle, boys. This is the type of women. And by the way, this lady is freaking smart, dude. Anyways, here she is.
Like you, Mark, who a lot of American women out there really respected you. A while ago, my sister and I were asked to audition on Shark Tank because of our startup. We grew up watching the show. So when we thought that we would have the opportunity to be on Shark Tank and around an investor like you, we were completely, like, that was our American dream. We grew up in really humble beginnings. Our grandmother picked coffee beans in Central America. We grew up with a small business owner father, a legal immigrant family. And even having the opportunity to, having gotten our company to a point where we even had the chance to audition for Shark Tank, let alone
So she's disappointed, and rightfully so. And again, if you're just joining us, we got a lot of people tuning in. Mark Cuban said this.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women.
So that led to, as you saw, Kellyanne Conway, right? Catalina coming out. I mean, the brigade of people is flowing to kind of show, hey, there's a lot of intelligent women out there that support and work with Donald Trump. A lot of them. It's a really crazy thing to say, folks. It's a pretty bonkers thing to come out and say, especially during an election. Now, I am glad that it happened. Because one, it shows you just honestly that you could say really anything and it's going to piss anybody off. I'm not saying he should have said it. I'm not offended by it. Even if he said, well, there's not really strong, intelligent men near Trump. Honestly, I just don't get offended by what people say too often. If anything, I find it hilarious. But it is nice that this does take place because now it's kind of like offset one another. Where you had Tony Hinchcliffe make his joke, but then now you have Mark Cuban saying this. Now, the big difference is one was a joke, the president saying people are garbage, and Mark Cuban saying that no women are intelligent near Trump is not a joke. Like, that's just what they believe. There's a vast difference, and I think Democrats and the media are sitting there covering that side of the thing up, or that side of the story up, where joke, you guys are just talking. Big difference. Comedian, president, and businessman / I guess politician now, Mark Cuban. Now, I don't know what dirt they have on Cuban for trying to simp for Kamala, but I don't get it. You also have Charlemagne the God saying, well, Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
Kamala supports transgender sex changes in jail with our money.
Kamala even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports. Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
We just go back to that. What the hell was that? Look at the size of that person compared to them. They sat there and go, okay, we need a triple XL. Yeah, I need to order some jerseys. Yeah. Okay. 20 of them are going to be smalls. Yeah, they're basketball jerseys. Uh-huh. And then this one, yeah, just listen carefully. We're going to need a quadruple? Yeah, a quadruple XL. Yes. Yes, this is a women's 15 and under league. Yes. You don't make jerseys that big for women. Okay, can we order a men's jersey, quadruple X? We need a massive number 42. Thank you. Jesus, look at the tattoo, by the way. Do you guys see the fucking tattoo on the arm? I just noticed that. Yeah, you got the bulge coming out in front, but, women's sports, no, it's all fine. Yeah, Fallon 42, exactly right. Throwing in the towel and fucking make it stop. Dude's just dunking on these chicks, just hanging from the basket. Yeah. Oh, God. I mean, that's what the Kamala presidency is going to look like, you guys. Holy shit. Just a bunch of people. We go to war, right? There's just a bunch of men in skirts and women's thongs just storming the beaches of freaking Iran, if there are any. Well, Kamala again refuses to disavow Biden, her governing partner, for smearing Trump supporters as garbage. The president explained what he meant, I guess. Well, I guess he did explain what he meant, because he was pretty clear on what he said. It's one of the very few times we actually have Joe Biden just all there.
Former President Trump also rode around in a garbage truck to call attention to President Biden's comments about his supporters and their rhetoric. Are you concerned that President Biden's comments might undermine your own messaging that you want to be a president for all Americans?
Well, I've addressed how I feel about those comments. One, that the president explained what he meant. But two, I do not believe, and I will speak for myself, that we should ever criticize people based on who they vote for.
Former President Trump also rode around in a garbage truck.
Oh God, I still find that hilarious that Donald Trump was freaking cruising around in a garbage truck. I really do. I was thinking about it yesterday. I think it is the best thing. I think it's the best thing that's ever happened in politics. At least the funniest thing. Easily. Now, she's saying that she doesn't think calling half the country garbage undermines her fake message about unity, you guys. We need to sit there and unite the country about our rhetoric, right? 40 hours before. Fucking Nazis, these racists, right? These freaking bigots. Puh, sick, disgusting scumbags. They're garbage, right? Well, we need to sit there and not be as divisive.
As he and his supporters grab onto that language, though, from President Biden, you're not at all concerned that might undermine your messaging?
I am very clear that in this election, what the American people want most is to know that I have a plan, that we have a plan to bring down the cost of living and invest in American families, invest in small businesses, invest in our economy. I am proud that I have the support of leading economists in our nation who recognize that I actually have a specific plan and that it will strengthen America's economy. He has very little of a plan besides giving tax breaks to the richest people, and his plan, whatever it may be, will actually weaken our economy.
Jesus. Do you think her neck is taped down? I'm just curious. That was an honest question, by the way. It's just like, you're like a mask is on, like somebody's like, all right, put on the mask, right? And you're pulling it down, right? And then like down here, you have it like duct taped. Fucking make me look thin. This is a very interesting question, actually. It says a lot about this person. She goes, the MSNBC reporter says, what keeps you up at night?
Former First Lady Michelle Obama says she stays up at night wondering why this election is so close. Do you do that? What keeps you up at night?
Oh, she fucking doesn't. No, shut up. No, nobody does that. Right? Okay, there may be a handful of people out there.
Night wondering why this election is so close. Do you do that?
Does anybody stay up at night going, why is this so close? Like, how is it possible? I can't sleep. Why is it 50-50? Nobody. Fuck, we got jobs, man. We got shit to worry about. We got mouths to feed. Like, we got bills to pay because of this chick here.
What keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night are the challenges that face the American family and my role and responsibility in my to-do list to...
That to-do list, you haven't checked shit off in 4 years. That's a long list. That's one of those CVS receipts. You know what I'm talking about? That shit goes on for a ways. Like, fucking, oh my God, where's the total? There it is. Gee, Hank, how much did we spend? Well, we saved $50, but we spent $100 for a gallon of milk. My to-do list. God, that was fucking hilarious. You know what? Maybe I was wrong. I'm sorry. You know what? Let's take a moment. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Maybe she does stay late up at night. She hasn't checked anything off. That would stress anybody out, right? You got this to-do list, right, from day one, right? And it just started accumulating for 4 years because you didn't do anything. It's a long list. I'd be a little nervous too. And that list is never going to get checked off. She's just going to come into office. She's going to siphon that $400,000 every single year that the president gets paid. And she's going to drive this country further in the ground. Remember, she has a plan. It is a remarkable thing. Ask any Democrat, if you have a plan, why the fuck are you waiting till the election after like January to implement that plan? It's the wildest shit to me. They have no answer. I've never seen an answer from anybody. If you have a plan and you're in the White House now, wouldn't it be a good idea to start executing it now if it's so good? It baffles me. It baffles me. Oh, $6,000 for childbearing, first year, blah, 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 credit on the tax bill. Why can't you just start it now? The $25,000 people, why can't you just do it now? It doesn't make sense to me. And I know it doesn't make sense to a lot of the patriots here. I just love the fact that bringing down the cost of living. So the reporter goes, day one, what's your first executive action? Bringing down the cost of living. I don't think she knows how executive orders work.
One, what's your first executive action?
Well, my first priority, which will be probably the package of bills, is about bringing down the cost of living. So it's about housing. It's about childcare. It's about what we need to do to deal with grocery prices. So it's not one, but it's a package that is with one singular purpose, bringing down the cost of living.
Day one, what?
I'm not even going to comment on it. I don't know where the fuck to start with it. I really don't know where to start with that woman. She's terrible. She's terrible. If you're just joining us, welcome, folks. Good seeing you. If you hit that like button, it does help support us. We go live each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. Fridays is kind of a unique show because we kind of go through more of a laxed episode, if that makes sense. Kind of throw in a little bit of the garbage. Throw in a little bit of the news that we didn't cover throughout the week, kind of go over breaking news, stuff like that. So this is kind of a little bit of a different style show, I suppose, than I guess Monday through Thursday, where Monday through Thursday is more planned, it's more organized. This is kind of just scraping the bottom of the barrel news cycle and kind of going through the nitty gritty. And we're going to go a little bit longer today. I hope that's okay with y'all. We're going to go a little bit longer. We're going to go past 7 o'clock. Drape, it's good to see you. Drape, I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. I might be wrong. I try to catch everyone's name in the chat. Scott in the South says, if we lose our country, we will not have any more opportunity to debate these other issues. That's why it's important. We are so vulnerable right now. You are correct. And it's not, I mean, hey, even if our country did stand, right, you have the Biden-Harris administration trying to go after not just their political opponents, but going after free speech. I mean, that's what's kind of scary here. You've seen what we've been dealing with here on YouTube. We got a lot of new subscribers. We got a lot of new followers on TikTok, all this stuff. A lot of people don't realize that our channel was almost banned, like deleted. What, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago? A lot of people don't realize that. Sheila says, Kamala has a great plan, one to finish destroying our country. Just like Mike Pence said, he isn't concerned about the United States, but he is concerned about Ukraine. Here goes further. He goes further than his. Yeah, that's correct. That is absolutely freaking correct. Dre said, also completely irrelevant. I'm going to be a dad. Smurf. Yeah, nice job. Hey, can we get a congrats? Everyone, congrats to Drape in the chat. Salute him over at Rumble as well. Let's give a congrats to Drape Speed. Congrats. Drape Speed. Love that. Love that. Congratulations, sir. Now you got Sarah Huckabee Sanders coming out. And, this is a strong woman. This is a very strong woman, by the way. They attacked her really bad, you guys, for what Mark Cuban said. Now, I just want to spotlight her, not just because it's in the news cycle, but also if you haven't read her book, folks, I forgot the title of it, but it was when she was White House press secretary. It was a really good read. Very, very good book. I highly recommend her book. And it gives you a little bit of background behind the scenes on Donald Trump as well.
Mark Cuban just said there are no strong, intelligent women around President Trump. It's a disgusting lie. And it's pretty funny coming from Democrats who can't even tell you what a woman is. I worked for
Damn! I didn't even think about that.
President Trump for 2.5 years. Democrats tried to tear me down. President Trump empowered me and every other woman in America. My name is Sarah Sanders, and I'm proud to join the millions of smart, intelligent women who will stand with Donald Trump this Tuesday.
Damn right. Damn right, Sarah. Oh my God, that was good. She had a point. She had a freaking great point. They can't even tell us what a woman is. Remember Ketanji Brown Jackson when she was up there being berated? What is a woman? Well, I'm not a biologist. Oh, they're delusional. They're delusional. But remember, they try to make fun of all of us. So Kamala goes, why aren't you in class? Ha ha ha. Remember, as San Francisco DA, Kamala ordered the arrest and prosecution of parents whose kids missed too many days of school. That was a law for a while, by the way.
Although, why aren't you guys in class? It's okay.
You know, I want to apologize to the viewers for showing that. Anytime I have to throw that cackle in there, yeah, I apologize. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Brad, why'd you do that? Well, I thought it was going to be a better clip. I'll be honest. Moving on. We got, I'm going to make up for it right now. How about that? I'll make up for it right now. We got Donald Trump's press secretary coming out and saying this about, what we've been talking about this entire time.
I would agree that we are staying disciplined and we are targeting and focusing on messaging to women every single day on the campaign trail. The top issues for women in this country right now are inflation, our economy, and immigration. And those are the issues that President Trump is talking about every single day on the campaign trail. Women want more money in our pockets. We want to be able to provide for our family. We want our children to be able to afford the American dream. That's what President Trump is promising. We don't want violent criminals.
I freaking love that hat, by the way. I know it has nothing to do, but again, it's a Friday episode. We're kind of doing a little bit of a lax thing here. That is such a sick hat. It's hard to find. It's sold out everywhere. You can get it through his campaign. It's $40. I want to get one. Oh, it's sick.
Working in our neighborhoods. We want those illegal immigrant criminals deported from our country. That's what President Trump is promising as well. We want a president who's going to stand with our local law enforcement and our communities, not to fund them like Kamala Harris. And I would just add, when it comes to targeting women and messaging to them, Kamala Harris's top surrogate, Mark Cuban, just this morning said that President Trump does not surround himself with intelligent and strong women, essentially saying any woman, including myself, who surrounds himself with President Trump is dumb and weak. I think those comments are insulting, and I think it's going to drive even more women to the polls for Donald Trump in the next 5 days. And of course,
do you notice that I just don't really see the media coming out and really calling this out? Like the women media. I mean, he said it on The View. So you're basically calling a ton of women dumb. And I tell you what, if Trump ever said that, or a conservative or a Republican ever said that, right, it'd just be endless news cycles. I just don't see it happening ever. It's amazing. And then you have all these TikTokers, right, Instagram, these influencers, I guess we can call them, coming out, right, when Tony Hinchcliffe said his joke, just relentlessly, oh, I can't believe he said that about Cubans or Puerto Ricans or whatever the fuck he said, right? I can't believe he did that. What a racist. I told you they're Nazis. I told you. Calls half the country garbage, meaning Joe Biden. I still have not seen any TikToks going, hey, you know, like the same person, right? The same person or people that posted and complained, bitched and moaned about what Tony Hinchcliffe said. Notice there is no videos said after about what Joe Biden said. Do you guys notice that? I've looked through. I got like a list of names and I sit there and I'm waiting for them to post the videos after listening to them bitch and moan about what Tony Hinchcliffe said as a joke, as a comedian. Notice, if you go on today, they won't have any videos on what Mark Cuban said. Nothing. Why? Because they're assholes. That's why. They have an agenda. Okay? They have an agenda. So top Kamala surrogate, Cuban still, who earlier today called all women support Trump weak and stupid, says your costs are going up. They're going up a lot.
Your costs are going up, aren't they? They're going up a lot. Anybody here buy stuff?
We just go back to like the grouping. Why do none of these people realize that when you have Kamala Harris, Mark Cuban, whoever's coming and rallying for Harris Walls, they're constantly just in their faces going, yeah, your grocery prices are more expensive, your mortgage, right, insurance, like all this thing, everything is up. Isn't that an amazing thing? They can just sit there and say, in a way, going, hey, yeah, we caused the price of everything to go up, but don't worry, you should elect us. And that people are actually going to elect them. That is, I'm sorry, but that is bonkers shit to me, man. I don't know if you'll ever see that. When was the last time we saw something like that? I don't know, man. There's some crazy stuff going on. Crazy stuff. And speaking of crazy, we got Ian Sams. They're still chauffeuring out Ian Sams. The guy that looks like a thumb. Kamala intern Ian Sams. That's so funny. Refuses to distance their campaign from their top surrogate, Mark Cuban. So they're like doubling down on this guy. What I could say, and I don't like it, what I could say is Donald Trump and his campaign are distancing themselves from Tony Hinchcliffe. Trump's like, I don't know who the guy is. Everybody knows who Tony Hinchcliffe was. At least if you're in the comedy world. He's like the #1 comedian in terms of roasting, and he's the #1 podcast for comedy. Give me a break. So here's Ian Sams, the thumb, the White House counsel, a liar.
And is that an unforced error, talking about women on the other side of the aisle like that, this close to Election Day? And does the campaign agree with what Mark Cuban just said?
Well, my understanding is he tweeted to sort of clarify his comments. But the vice president's been very clear. She said this just yesterday, that she certainly disagrees strongly with insulting anybody over who they support, whether they support her, whether they support President Trump. She strongly disagrees with insulting people based on who they vote for.
Ian, is that?
Did you all catch that at the end?
Over who they support, whether they support her, whether they support President Trump. She strongly disagrees with insulting people based on who they vote for. She strongly disagrees with insulting people based on who they vote for. She strongly disagrees with insulting people based on who they vote for. She strongly disagrees with insulting people based on who they vote for.
Folks, I know you know this. Today's November 1st. Just this week, we were all being called Nazis, garbage. Just this week alone. Not to mention, for 4 years, you were a threat to this country. You were an extremist, a threat to democracy. You were basically deemed a terrorist in your own country. Now, I know I always keep saying this, we got a lot of new viewers. We're still booming and growing as a channel. Folks, if you're a Trump supporter, you're ever in the military, or you're a religious person, those three, according to Joe Biden's DHS advisory board, you are deemed a terror risk in your own country. And they're going to lecture us. And that wasn't the end of it. Ian Sams, the same guy, blames scheduling for Kamala Harris's refusal to go on Joe Rogan's podcast. Now, I thought JD was going to be on today. He was actually on yesterday. So I only got through like an hour and a half of that podcast, and JD's freaking great. Rogan, I'll tell you something about Joe Rogan, because I listen to a ton of his podcasts when I go running. Rogan was eating him up. Not in a bad way. Like, he was enjoying it, Rogan. And I'll tell you how I know. Joe Rogan hates when people interrupt one another on a podcast. So say like I'm talking and somebody's on with me and then they keep interrupting me. He hates that stuff. You know when Joe Rogan's having a really good time and actually enjoying a conversation, when he starts interrupting the person that's the guest. And he does that with JD Vance quite a bit, and not in a bad way. Just like that's what you do with your friends, right? You're excited about the conversation. You want to keep it going, and you're just having a good time, and you're kind of get caught up to where you just interject on them. And I think he was really enjoying his time with JD. I'm going to see what the follow-ups are of his other guests, because I'm usually they ask about it. Hey, how was your time with JD? Like, what was it like? Give us a little bit of behind the scenes. I think he had a really good time with JD Vance yesterday.
Joe Rogan has said that the campaign contacted him too, and that they wanted Joe Rogan to travel to where Kamala Harris was campaigning versus Harris travel to Austin as Trump did. Firstly, is that accurate? And if it's true, why not just travel to Austin and go do that interview with Joe Rogan? Is it a missed opportunity to make inroads with particularly young white male voters?
Well, yeah, we've had good conversations with Joe Rogan and his team about a potential interview between the vice president and him. I'm not sure whether it'll work out scheduling wise in this campaign.
Joe Rogan has said.
They keep saying that. They said that when she wouldn't do any interviews for like the first 2 months, right? She hadn't done any interviews. They're just like locking her up behind the door going, oh, well, we're having scheduling conflicts. We don't know what to do. She's just so busy. You're busy for the #1 podcast in the world? That's an insane thing to say. But you have time for... She doesn't even have time to go to these disaster zones. East Palestine, Ohio. What took place with Helene over there on the East Coast. She's that... what is she doing? I really do mean this. I don't know what she's doing. She doesn't do interviews all that often. She doesn't talk to Joe Biden all that often, even though we're told that she does. What does she actually do? What is her job? You're too busy to go on the #1 podcast in the world? That shit doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make any sense at all. I know it doesn't to any of you. If you could, folks, I'm looking at the numbers. We got almost 70 people watching over at YouTube alone. Mind you, we're also on X. We're also on Rumble. But only 39 of you smash that like button. Just a little clicky. Helps us tremendously. It really does. I wouldn't I wouldn't bother you if it didn't help us. Trust me. What it does is it shows YouTube and the system, the algorithm, that you're engaging with the channel. And so they'll actually push it out more, going, hey, a lot more people are liking this. They're engaging with the channel. They're writing in the chat. Let's pump this out to more viewers if people are liking it and enjoying it. So it kind of circumvents the shadow ban slightly. And you're damn right we're being shadow banned. How the fuck do some of our videos get 30 views when we have almost 66,000 subscribers? Just doesn't make sense to me. Even Franco, a dude that's not even American from South Africa, goes, yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense on how the hell our videos are only getting 40 views when you have 66,000 subscribers. A dude that's not even American is like, yeah, that's fucking weird. Right? But don't worry, guys. YouTube says it's your fault. Oh, because you didn't turn on the bell notification. Sure it is. Bunch of freaking commies. So a former undecided Wisconsin voter chooses Trump in 2024 on the basis of the economy, border, and national security. It's really refreshing, and this is why I want to show all of you. It's really refreshing that there's people with their head on straight. It's really nice to see that there's still common sense out there. And, it's a lot more prevalent than I think what we see. I think there's a lot of Americans out there that are secretly voting for Trump And they understand, they see what's going on out there and the damage that the Biden-Harris administration has done.
When we spoke this summer, her frustrations were clear.
Both parties have their extreme side, and no one's in the middle.
From her vantage point in the critical suburbs of Milwaukee, no longer dominated by Republicans alone, she said issues are driving her decision.
I'm going to vote for Trump. You know, when he talks in the big arena, sometimes I'm like, I wish he would tone down his rhetoric and everything. But at the end of the day, I want a person that's going to fix the economy, border, and then national security.
Ticket.
Bingo. Key point. I'm not as concerned about what he says. I'm more concerned about what he does, because what he does affects me more than what he says. Exactly. I'm still trying to get that message across to a lot of independents, quasi-Democrats, or leaning more to the left. I don't like everything Donald Trump says. Do I find it funny? Yes, because I understand that he doesn't always mean what he says that what he's saying. And people take it the wrong way. I don't like everything he says. As a matter of fact, I don't like everything he does. I didn't like how much money he spent. I've always said that. I'm still going to vote for the guy because there's a lot more things that he did that was good that overshadow the cons. The pros outweigh the cons. Joe Biden says a lot of shit, so does Kamala Harris, and doesn't do anything. And the things that they do support non-Americans, meaning illegal aliens, than actual Americans. Remember when they kicked out, I always use this because we have a lot of veterans, a lot of patriotic people, hence the hat, right? I'm not a veteran, okay, but I support the military. Remember when they kicked out our military veterans out of hotel rooms? That still pisses me off. I lost my shit when I found that out. They kicked out veterans out of hotel rooms, meaning I'm talking about the Biden-Harris administration. I'd like to be specific. The Biden-Harris administration kicked out veterans that served in Afghanistan and Iraq and replaced them, I shit you not, with immigrants from Afghanistan and Iraq. You could have had the scenario, I'm not even kidding, by the way, you could theoretically have the scenario where you're out there, right, in 2002, like fucking fighting on the sands of Iraq and Afghanistan, right, like shooting you back, right? You could theoretically have a veteran get kicked out of a hotel room and replaced by a guy that he fought against. In theory, that could happen. Why? Because they don't vet these guys, and when they do, some of them have fake identification. That's from the CIA, by the way. That's not from me. That is from a former CIA. I don't know if she's former or still in. It's from the blonde-haired girl from the Sean Ryan podcast. Bonkers shit we're dealing with, man. Let's get to a little bit of titles here. Trump is still out there with Vivek, still out there doing his garbage thing. Absolutely freaking love it. The Biden-Harris administration pushed far-left ideology with 500 DEI actions report finds. So from the DHS to NASA to the Department of Defense to federal entities created equity action plans pushing for woke DEI ideology. This is a crippling ideology, folks. Crippling ideology. 400 different actions. 500. The Biden-Harris administration has taken steps to ensure that DEI infiltrates every nook and cranny of the federal government, from healthcare agencies to national security. On day one, his administration, President Biden issued Executive Order 13985 entitled Advancing Racial Equity and Support for Underserved Communities through the Federal Government. The report found that over 80 federal entities took DEI actions, though some were particularly prolific. DHS and the EPA took or planned 13 and 22 respectively, while NASA planned 26 DEI actions. This is where they're spending your money. This is where they're spending their time. This is why Kamala Harris doesn't have time to go on Joe Rogan's podcast, probably, because they're sitting there doing all these stupid-ass actions. The report comes as former President Donald Trump has pledged to reverse woke takeover, which I love. Thank you, Mr. President, of the federal government, and urged Congress to establish a restitution fund for those unjustly discriminated against by these destructive policies. Correct. Discrimination has no place in our society and certainly not in our federal government. Yes, correct. This report documents hundreds of examples of harmful identity politic leads to differing governmental programs depending on race and sexual orientation. It's alarming that these programs, including in the way of government regulates medicine and cares for our veterans, not only were implemented, but encouraged and celebrated. I mean, you guys said in the chat, You guys said in the chat, it's going to destroy this country. It's not a Trojan horse if they do it right out in the open. The thing was, though, remember, and I wrote an entire book, funny enough, called Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. So that's why I'm going to back this up, is when they first were initiating these policies, they weren't doing it out in the open. What they were doing was the Democrat Party was separate from the progressive side of the aisle, meaning the far left. And the far left would not work in conjunction with the Democrat Party to get an agenda pushed. What ended up happening over time was the Democrat Party was either absorbed by the left, however you want to phrase it, or the left absorbed the Democrat Party. And now they work one in unison to push these ideas. And so before, what they would do was masquerade as, say, anti-fascist at Antifa, but in actuality, they're actual fascists. So that's what I mean by Trojan horse was we allowed these people to be in our country because they're Americans with this ideology that's destructive. And what they did was they kind of said, well, we don't want these things, but in actuality, they did want those things. After a while, once we let them kind of flourish here, no longer was it a Trojan horse if they were still hiding inside. They came out of that Trojan horse and now are just out and about with their ideologies like DEI. And so that's why, again, we wrote an entire book on it. Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. And I might as well just show it right now. Phenomenal book. Again, I wrote a book that I would want to read, and that's why we wrote it right here. There you have it, folks. There it is, all in its glory. Like, Brad, don't you normally put it up? Like, don't you just normally put it up? Yeah, but I remember I cleaned everything out for the election night, so we're good to go. But really, I think you guys would really like this book. People ask, like, how were you able to do it? It's a book that I would have wanted to read myself. That's why I think that's why you would like it. So liberalism, COVID-19, racism, fascism, CRT. I really enjoyed writing it. It was fun. Big project though. Chip says, my state, Utah, knows how to run an economy. Never been so proud as when we turned any federal funds to extend unemployment after COVID. State was like, get off your ass and get back to work. Love that. And by the way, Utah, I believe, was Jason Chaffetz's state. And Jason Chaffetz was one of the two great congressmen that I really do wish would have stayed. There's two of my favorites. They're called, it's Trey Gowdy was Trey Gowdy South Carolina? Trey Gowdy and then Jason Chaffetz, who's now both are on Fox News. I love those guys. And sadly, they left because of the corruption and how dark our government is. Now, you have to really filter through a lot of stuff to find them saying that. Because I was like, why would they leave? Like, we need them. We got to have guys like this in Congress. And that's why they left, which is sad. We lost two great men in Congress that were advancing conservative ideas. Really, really sad day when they left. Trump pledges to name cabinet member dedicated to reducing cost of living. I am really excited, by the way, about Elon Musk being a part of the administration and getting rid of all this wasteful spending. If I was a single issue voter, I would vote for Donald Trump just for that, because immigration and the debt are my two biggest issues. So former President Donald Trump said on Thursday that he intends to create a new cabinet position geared towards cutting the cost of living if elected to a second term in the White House. Now, here's the thing. This sounds great. My thing, though, is that when you create a new cabinet position, you're basically making a bigger form of government, which cuts against conservative values, by the way, especially, well, it used to be cutting against Republican values of creating more of a bigger government. I understand why he's doing it. I like it in a holistic view, but I don't like it in practicality because, like I said, it's making government bigger, and I don't want to do that. I don't like bigger government. That's a Democrat idea. That's no bueno. He made the announcement as part of a new step to get emergency price relief to all Americans while speaking at a rally in Albuquerque, New Mexico, with less than a week to go before the election. Now, some of you might say, well, Brad, how else is he going to solve this if he doesn't make the government bigger? Well, I'll tell you, you just sit there and remove something else that was already in its place. So, for example, you can remove the Department of Education and then fill the position with this. Like, I don't even know. Is the cabinet position, is the Department of Education even a cabinet position? Secretary of Education? Is that a thing? I'll have to look it up later. I actually don't know. I really don't know. Maybe somebody can look that up. Is there a Secretary of Education for the Department of Education? Is that even a cabinet position? Either way, you could sit there and you don't need to create a cabinet position for this even nonetheless. It doesn't really matter, I suppose. I'll create a new cabinet position for a senior member of my administration who will be tasked exclusively with doing everything in the federal government's power to reduce the cost of living. Trump also said he would sign an executive order on day one that would direct every federal agency to immediately remove every single burdensome regulation driving up the cost of goods. So I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, it is. Okay. Thank you. All right. There we go. Easy enough. So I didn't look as stupid. Something, I don't know if you guys saw this. I really want to know your take. Again, if you're just tuning in, this is your first time seeing the Bald Brad Show. It's more loose today. There's not like an overarching theme like we normally do on the show. We're just throwing a bunch of news articles at you, a bunch of videos. Friday's more of a laxed kind of day. I want to know what you guys think about this because I'm a rule follower. Okay, I'm one of those. I just like following rules. And New York City is decriminalizing jaywalking in the name of equity. So I haven't read this. I'm going to break this down, but I'm really curious on this. It's not every day that you accidentally stumble upon a vast conspiracy among the nation's various local police departments, especially when it's a conspiracy that relates to an upcoming presidential election. But yesterday, as I was watching some reporting about the New York City's decision to decriminalize jaywalking, that's exactly what I did. In case you missed it, yes, New York City's council just voted to decriminalize jaywalking. No one's going to get any more tickets for crossing against the light or walking in the middle of the street. Technically, jaywalkers still don't have the right of way, so I guess they might have some liability if they cause an accident, but realistically, it's open season for jaywalking in the city. I don't like this, and I'll tell you again, I'm very liberal when it comes to like governance. I just want the government to stay out of my life. So I suppose I don't have a problem with this because it gets rid of that aspect. But there's a lot of psychos out there that will sit there and try to perform some sort of insurance fraud. Have you guys seen that where people are parked at a red light and somebody just like walks up on them and like throws themselves against a vehicle? I want to know what you guys think about this. Do you guys think people should be ticketed for jaywalking? Because that kind of leads to chaos at some point. Like if you have a bunch of people that don't give a shit about the law, then they're going to jaywalk. But then if you don't have the law in place, people are going to jaywalk. I would never jaywalk in New York, by the way. New Yorkers don't give two shits. They'll run your ass over. Jaywalking and math, very racist. Yeah. The mayor, Eric Adams, didn't take any official action on this bill to decriminalize jaywalking, probably because he's busy with the Biden administration's attempt to throw him in prison. So the bill now automatically becomes law. Wow. Let's check this out.
That will allow New Yorkers to jaywalk, cross the street against the light or in the middle of the street. This despite the deadly risks.
Why? Because the overwhelming majority of jaywalking tickets apparently were given to minorities. So why didn't they just level the playing field to these tickets? Meanwhile, kids, do not do this. This can be deadly.
We talked to the city councilwoman who pushed for this, who said jaywalking simply should not be illegal.
We're talking about 92% of those summonses are given to the black and brown communities. When was the last time you heard somebody say that, I'm happy they caught that jaywalker?
It's always interesting as somebody that teaches statistics when they go, well, it's 92% of minorities are the ones that are being ticketed, and they automatically attribute it to racism. It's such a far leap. By the way, you could technically track that. I mean, it would be hard to do, but you could do it as the variable of racism with a regression line of the tickets, right? So the amount of people, I mean, who's going to sit there and go, oh, I'm a racist, and I gave them a ticket because they're black or Hispanic or whatever the hell. It's a very far leap, and it's not a very good idea to sit there and attribute everything to racism whenever you see a disparity within statistics. So they call this like a desperate impact theory, that there's this idea that there's a systematic form of racism out there that's being utilized through our legal justice system, through ticketing people, and that the outcome of that is ultimately racism because you have a disproportion of people, minorities, being ticketed over somebody else. So if you have blacks being ticketed 75% and whites only 25%, well, it must be racism. It could at no way, shape, or form be the fact that maybe there's a culture within a specific portion of the black community and minority communities that clearly don't care about the law enough and that they're willing to jaywalk. Now, could it be racism? Maybe, but I'm not willing to make that leap. It could just be that there's people of certain races that are committing more crimes than said other races. For example, how come it's not racist when you have less than 13% of the population? Because if you actually look at it, it's the males of the black community, which is only like 7 or 8% of the population, committing like 60% of the murders. Like 50 to 60% of the murders in all the country is conducted by like less than 10% of the country. That's bonkers. Bonkers. Now, do I think race has anything to do with somebody murdering somebody? I absolutely do not, actually. It's just people are murdering other people. Because if you look at the other side, and we break this down in my book, Trojan Horse, Disparities, right? We have a whole chapter of discrimination and disparities that talks about this whole thing we're talking about. If you actually, because I went back like 60 plus years, because I went so far back in my research and the records, there was no longer any records, okay, to explain all this in the book. So that's why I highly recommend it. I don't even know where the hell I was. Anyways, you have the other side of it of white people committing a lot of the crime as well. But it only seems to go with, well, it's only racist when it goes against blacks or Hispanics or something. So 92% is a lot, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to attribute that to racism. Maybe it's just 92% of blacks are sitting there being cited for crossing illegally because they're crossing illegally. So they're getting rid of it. You know, they did that as well. Something to point out, because we were talking about the Department of Education. I'll throw this one at you as well. This actually hurts the country, believe it or not. When you sit there and do things like this, when you attribute everything to racism, it actually hurts it. It actually makes Americans dumber. So let me connect this for you. Way back when, we used to have to take a high school exit exam to graduate high school. No longer is that the case anymore. They've actually removed the high school exit exam because students weren't able to pass it. And who wasn't able to pass it in different proportions than others? Blacks. Blacks were not passing the high school exit exam. There was actually this case in Los Angeles many years ago. I want to say it's 2011 is kind of ringing my bell. And so the school didn't, like all the seniors, is a high minority school, didn't pass the high school exit exam. And they're like, fuck, what are we going to do? Graduate them? So they just graduated them. And then what happened was more people weren't passing it, like throughout the country. And so they just did away with it. If you're not able to pass a high school exit exam, why are you graduating high school? Because clearly you don't know it. Some people go, well, they're just bad test takers. No, they're not. No, they're not. That's just an excuse. You just don't know the shit. It's so remarkable to me when people go, well, I'm just a bad test taker. But then if I gave you a test that you passed, would you be a good test taker then? Like all of a sudden you know it? Because I guarantee you, if you started passing all the exams, you wouldn't be saying, well, I'm a bad test taker. Well, no, we could sit there and you just pass because you know the shit. You just don't know it, and you want to use that as an excuse of like, I'm a bad test taker. No, you just don't know the stuff, and you have to be honest with yourself. So they weren't doing that. Did you know that for the first time in 100 years, in a century, the average American IQ has actually dropped? Because they're removing and they're basically lowering the standards because of equity, because of racism. And that's why Krager actually in the chat earlier on said math was racist. I'm not shitting you. This is a real thing. There was these professors that came out and said that math was racist because all the whites in the classroom were getting it right and the minorities in the classroom were getting the answers wrong. This is not what I'm saying, okay? This is just what's taking place and what they said. And so no longer could you say 2 + 2 = 4. You have to accept the answer from a minority student that the answer is 5. And not only do you have to accept that answer, you have to count it as correct. I am not kidding. People think this is like satire. They think it's a joke. I am fucking as real as I can possibly be. There's certain segments of the education system that want to sit there and implement this whole idea that if you give me the wrong answer, I have to accept it. And if I don't, I am racist if I don't accept that wrong answer. In math, for those that aren't aware, when we teach mathematics, it's not like we're just teaching these bogus fucking concepts that are just out there in the ether like DEI or like trans shit. All this stuff has proofs. Like it's been proven to work, right? Like it's proven to give you the answer. That's why instead of becoming a history teacher, I became a math teacher, because there ain't no fucking around. That ain't your opinion. I don't care about your opinion. That's the answer. Well, no longer is that the case. And if you tell them anything different, you're a freaking racist, according to the Democrat Party. And that is why you're going to see this country falling apart, is because the education system is falling apart. There's no right answers anymore. You got to accept everybody's asinine answers left and right, which is crazy to me. Y'all remember that? You have to accept everybody's opinion as being equal. Sorry, not all opinions are equal. Fascism is not equal to capitalism, or communism or Marxism not equal to a republic, a democracy, all those things. It doesn't matter however you want to equate it. I don't care. It doesn't have to be about the economy. It can just be about the form of government. It doesn't matter. It's not, they're not the same. And what they're teaching, and I'm not even kidding you guys, they're actually in some schools, I've seen it with my own eyes, not the places where I worked, but you had to step in for certain things. You had to do certain things at other places. I talked to a group of students that were working on this flip book, and it was all about isms, socialism, communism, capitalism, all these isms, right? And it's like a little book that you fold over. These are high school, by the way. Flipping it over, going through each one, kind of describing it as a project they had to do. And I walked up to a bunch of them. I said, hey, you know what? Like, this is my first time back in the classroom after I became an accountant. I go, hey, like, what are you guys learning about? Like, which one of those would you say is the best? Like, which ones are you taught are like the better than the other ones? And they go, communism and socialism. And I knocked myself back and I said, just to be clear, you're saying socialism and communism are better than capitalism? And they say, yeah. And I said, you were taught this in the classroom? And they said, yeah, this is in Southern California, by the way. I know the school, I just don't want to oust them. And they said, yeah. It's a remarkable thing. There are people teaching that communism, socialism, more so socialism, is better than capitalism. It's crazy, you guys. And like you said, it's indoctrination. It really is. That's why I just stick to my lane. Statistics. I just stick to my lane. AP stats and stats. That's what I teach. Now, what's also scary here, going away from education, if you guys want some crazy stories, I can give you some inside stuff, man. I've seen some wild bonker shit. Wild bonker shit. North Korea tests long-range missile after deploying troops to Russia. All that stuff comes from the public education system, by the way, that I'm talking about. Public education system is... There is no hope, you guys. I'm dead serious. There's no hope. There's no hope for the education system. Not after what I've seen. There is if you want to sit there and actually change it, but it needs to happen today. And even if it happens today, you're talking 10 to 15 years before you see any change. North Korea tested an intercontinental ballistic missile. Isn't that just lovely? Designed to threaten the United States. Why is this a big deal? Well, because North Korea is sending troops or has already sent troops into Russia for training. And the idea is that those troops will probably end up going into Ukraine. I hope that's not the case because that could just escalate the whole issue. But yeah, this is not good when you give this fat boy a missile. You know, a guy just loses his shit one day. Fucking boom! And just launches a freaking nuclear warhead our way. And then you see North Korea gone, by the way. It's always interesting to me when you have like these, you guys ever heard of like the Curly syndrome? Remember Curly from the book Of Mice and Men? And he's kind of like this hothead, short, stout guy. And it's always the short, stout guys, like the smaller guys that sit there and have like the Curly syndrome where they're sitting there, they think they're like all tough and shit. And then you got a bigger guy that's like, he's like punching the bigger guy in the stomach. And the bigger guy's just like, what the hell are you doing? Like, leave me alone. But it's the little guy that's bullying the bigger guy. Like, does this guy does he not realize, you know, I'm not saying we should do this, right? You're killing a ton of people with a nuclear warhead. I'm not saying anybody should do this. What I'm saying is that this guy has gone so long with poking the bear that there's never been an ass kicking for him before. Do you know what I mean? He lives his entire life where if somebody says anything that goes against him, they get blown up by a tank missile. Remember how he blew up his uncle with a fucking tank missile? Like a tank round? I think it was his uncle, right? He's killed a bunch of people. Truthfully, I didn't like Trump hanging out with this guy. It's not a good look. I mean, you're hanging out with a dictator that's a fucking murderer. The guy kills a lot of people. He's starving millions of people in his country. So I'm not a big fan of Trump hanging out with this guy. I like that he's like, oh, I'm getting along with him, right? So he doesn't launch a nuke. I get it. I fully understand it. I don't like Trump hanging out with dictators, and I don't like Trump hanging out with this asshole. Dude murders tons of people. Like, not a good thing, you guys. It's World War III already, multiple active fronts. I don't think it's World War III already, but you know, you got that taking place with North Korea working with Russia. It's not a good thing. We'll see. I don't look, I'm 35. I'm still eligible if things get really bad. I don't want to go to war. Harris said North Korea is our best friends. Jesus, Peggy. Chip said he was the greatest threat at the time Trump took office. That is correct. And please don't misunderstand me. I'm trying to be as clear as possible. I agree that Trump should be trying to soften the blow of calming these people down, right? They're trying to, Kim Jong-un's trying to take the world hostage with like Russia, right? And Trump's like the negotiator on the phone. Hey, Rocket Man, My button works and it's bigger. I'll blow you fucking off this earth. Don't fuck with me. All right. Anyways, you want to come over for dinner? You know, like, don't get me wrong. I get it. I'm just saying it's still not a good look. You got always try to take whatever you see and almost attribute it to yourself. Would you want to go hang around with a dictator and a murderer? And I'm not talking a guy just like cuts up like one person. I'm talking like sits there with a cigar, you know, chauffeuring out their fucking uncle. Okay, Mr. Get out there. Atta's already. Blows him up with a fucking tank missile. And you're sitting there just watching your uncle turn to mist. Puts another one out there. It's funny how I went from Asian to like Nazi. It's not a good look, you guys. It's not a good thing. And then having millions of people starving, eating fucking rats, looking for maggots on dead bodies to eat to get the protein they need. It's not a good thing. I'm telling you, it's not. I get that we want to sit there and Trump's philosophy is devil, you know. Yes, I understand. I want to be clear because I don't want you guys to think like, oh, like he's hounding Trump for hanging out, getting good relations with other countries. No, I'm not. Just like there's maybe other ways of doing it is all I'm saying. JD Vance, everything leading up to Trump's assassination attempt was very fishy. He talked about this on the Rogan podcast. And I'm not going to play the video because I've been getting flagged a lot, you guys, for showing certain videos from certain outlets. If I show Joe Rogan's podcast, I'm going to get flagged, which means we get demonetized and it just creates a legal problem for me. I got to fill out a freaking form. But all I can say is they go over the assassination attempt on Trump's life. And even Rogan's like, isn't it a little weird that you don't know anything about it? Like the guy was cremated and even the mortician didn't even know the guy was cremated. Like the guy that was supposed to do the autopsy was like, hey, where's the body? Not a joke. Not satire. The guy came in. He's like, okay, hey, I'm coming in. All right, we got this nut job. Oh, assassination kit. I got to freaking do an autopsy. I got to cut him up. Looks around. The body's gone. You guys, if you do a deep dive into the first assassination attempt with that scrawny ass little bitch that shot Trump in the fucking ear, in the head. Yeah, it's bonkers. Multiple cell phone pings from where the FBI hang out. They can't get into multiple encrypted phones. His house was allegedly scrubbed clean like a freaking surgeon. Like you couldn't find like DNA. You couldn't find like fingerprints in the household. It was insane. And then you have this whole idea that he made a bomb. We still don't know how the fuck he made a bomb. You guys, so again, as an educator, you get to talk like chemists. You get to talk about people who actually know their shit, like masters, PhDs in like chemistry and stuff. And you go, hey, like those blasting caps that he had on the bomb, like, is it easy to make that stuff? And they're like, no, it's not. Even for somebody that has a master's and PhD, like if you mess it up slightly, you're going to kill yourself. And I said, yeah, but is it realistic for a dipshit like that guy that shot Trump? Is it realistic for that guy to like make these? No, it's not. So I'm like, so if he couldn't have made them, like how else can you get them? They said, well, you can actually buy them, but it's highly tracked. We don't know. We still don't know. Like, how the fuck did you get these blasting caps to go in a bomb that's in your van? And how did that go unnoticed by your parents? Yeah, they found multiple bombs with triggers in the house. Yes. You're telling me a dude that sat there, scrawny. I'm calling him a little scrawny bitch. I can call him whatever the fuck I want. He's an idiot. Scrawny little bitch gets on the roof in Butler with 150 yards with a red dot, by the way, and misses. You're telling me a dude that can't sit there and shoot a firearm at 150 yards and actually hit his target with a red dot, not even iron sights, can't hit his target, that he made blasting caps and a bomb and had multiple, like, really? We don't know anything. It's amazing, though, when there's a school shooter, we'll have everything out within a day, unless they're trans. Then, they have a manifesto that they don't want to release and all these other things. I've always said this is where my conspiracy theory meter goes up. I'm tending to believe it was an inside job. Now, people go, well, what's your proof, man? Right? All these people that love to live off debating. Well, what's your proof? Come on, you're going to say something insane like that? I don't have much proof. And quite frankly, neither do you. We don't have proof either way. We don't have anything. That's kind of a problem and kind of weird. They sat there and cremated the kid's body. Nobody fucking knew about it. JD Vance doesn't even know. The dude's running for vice president. And so he said on Joe Rogan's podcast that they're going to get to the bottom line and release a lot of stuff to you. And I hope it's true. Now, with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden at the helm, a lot of things aren't as safe as they used to be. And I know you guys know that, with 10 plus million illegal immigrants running around this country. Well, just so you know, another illegal alien was charged with terrorism. Remember that guy that was here illegally from a Middle Eastern country that was going to perform a terrorist attack on Election Day? It's amazing how this keeps coming out. Illegal alien charged with terrorism, hate crimes, and anti-Semitic attack. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I was told this wasn't happening, by the way. I was told the border secured by DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. No, it was echoed by Kamala Harris herself and Joe Biden and Karine Jean-Pierre and Jen Psaki and Anthony Blinken and John Kirby. All of them. All of them said the border was secure. Weird, how'd this happen? The illegal alien who allegedly opened fire on a Jewish man on Saturday in Chicago has been hit with a felony of terrorism and hate crime charges in addition to a list of charges he's already facing. Oh, a list of charges. Then why the fuck is he here illegally? Why is he still allowed to be here? Why is he not deported and sent off to like an island? Chicago police announced the new charges. And by the way, I'm specifically saying like an island in the middle of nowhere because clearly he has a list of charges and he just tried to kill somebody. But, you know, the Democrats go, oh, we can't do that to him. No, you can't deport him. You got to take care of him. Yeah. Chicago police announced the new charges Thursday evening. Yeah, we're supposed to take care of murderers now, you guys. Yeah. Rapists, sex offenders, all these people. Yeah, we're supposed to take care of them. Thursday evening against this Mohammed guy, 22. He just wants a better life, you guys. That's why he's here. That's what we're told by Kamala Harris. No, they're here. No, stop it. Patriots, he came here for a better life. I was told so by Kamala Harris, and I must believe everything she says. Yeah, he came here because there's a drought. The border czar was sitting there saying, hey, there's a drought in a foreign country, and that's why they're coming here. They're starving. So he came here to kill a bunch of people, but he's here for food. After allegedly shot a Jewish man on his way. So there you have, he's facing 14 additional felony counts, including first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, aggravated battery, and attempted murder of a police officer. You just want a better life, you guys. Yeah, you got to support that. Yeah, you got to support that. We should have a prison on a ship in the middle of the ocean. That'd be freaking awesome, wouldn't it? Just let it rust. I mean, when you start sitting there and making the penalties not as harsh for crimes, people don't mind doing them. Have you guys seen that massive prison? What is it in Argentina? Where's that massive prison at in South America that dude built? Where there's just like if you're in a gang, you're in there for life. Have you guys seen that video of that prison? I forgot the dude that went there, but yeah, there's a prison in South America gangs that this guy, yeah, it's right here. Have you guys seen this prison?
A late night visit in the heart of El Salvador. Telemundo cameras are given rare access to Latin America's largest prison. Inside this mega prison, you'll find some of El Salvador's most dangerous gang members packed into massive cells, towers of bunk beds, and what looks like bird cages. It's a source of pride for President Nayib Bukele that almost 2 years ago declared a war on crime. A detention center the size of 7 football stadiums with capacity to hold 40,000 prisoners, the largest of its kind in Latin America. Known as the Center for Terrorism Confinement, it opened its doors in 2023 after the government declared a
Betts goes, it's empty. They sent them all here. Yeah.
State of emergency. The move limiting civil rights and allowing massive arrest of tens of thousands of gang members. The director says the detainees have to sleep on hard surfaces to avoid giving them mattresses that could be used to hide objects. Their diet consists of simple meals that repeat every day.
Frijol, arroz, un huevo duro en la mañana. El menú del desayuno se repite en la cena. El almuerzo lo único que cambia un poquito de pasta y arroz.
It's all part of the president's tough stance on crime that some say solidified his re-election over the weekend. Bukele claiming a landslide victory with more than 2/3 of the votes processed, the president winning 83% of those votes. The government says the measures are working and the homicide rate has now dropped to 2.4%. This after just years ago, El Salvador was considered the most dangerous country in Central America.
Yeah. Craig says Tucker had a great interview with him. Yeah, he's cleaned that place up. And I should preface, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it is the case. Those guys that you just saw in the prison, like just being part of a gang, yeah, they're in there for life. They're never going to get out. They don't get to leave those cages. So those guys chose to be in a gang. And there was an individual, a younger guy, that went down there and got access to it as well. And he asked them, like, was it worth it? And they said no. I mean, why? You just gave up your entire life at like 16, 18 years old. And now you're stuck in there forever. Crazy. But I tell you what, there's a reason why people aren't joining gangs no more. Not there. Why would you? My friend in Mexico said she likes the Mexican president who's female, who is also taking a stance. Yeah, let's pray for her, though, because you all know what happens there, right? Scary shit, man. Trump sues CBS News for $10 billion over Kamala's 60 Minutes interview edits. I have nothing really to add. I just want to make you guys aware that he is he's suing 60 Minutes. And we'll see what comes of it. If this gets pushed through, what's nice is you have that discovery phase of the legal side of it that you can find out a lot of information. So we'll see if how they cut it up and what they did, and maybe we'll get the full interview. Who knows? Normally this type of stuff takes a while, but $10 billion is a lot of money. A lot of money. Also in other news, we have 90% of Americans want U.S. citizens voting in American elections, but only want U.S. citizens, folks. Now, again, if you weren't here yesterday, we gave you an update that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Glenn Youngkin's state, Virginia, that they can remove the illegal immigrants off their voter rolls. So if this is news to you, what you had happen was Glenn Youngkin put forth and said, hey, we're going to remove these illegal immigrants from the voter rolls because they're illegal immigrants. And just for those that are curious, that whole thing that he was doing, he was actually following an order that was put in place by the prior governor, who was a Democrat. A Democrat put in place to move illegal aliens off the voter rolls. So Glenn Youngkin was just trying to do it. A Biden-appointed judge sits there and goes, yeah, no, you can't do it. You got to put them back on the voter rolls. Well, the Supreme Court sat there and ruled in favor of Glenn Youngkin. They're removing those illegal immigrants off the voter rolls. How many times can you say voter rolls in a single sentence? So 77% of Americans strongly agree that the U.S. citizens should be voting in American elections. Polling conducted by CRC Research on behalf of the 85 Fund found 13% somewhat agree. So that's look. I mean, look at that image there. Wow, see it. There always has to be somebody, right, that does the unsure, refused, and then disagree. So they overlap, and I know it's hard to see, especially if you're colorblind, but there's like a dark green and then like a light green. So these look to be like segmented bar graphs, and then on the right, yeah, you got some more bar graphs over there side by side. So I got really nothing to add there. Well, folks, I think we'll end it there. That's really most of the news that's coming out today. We'll be back here tomorrow, not for a live show, but we will be back with kind of sporadic videos. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Like I said, Fridays are more lax. There's not really a major theme going on. We have an amazing show today. Brad, have a wonderful day today, everyone. Stay blessed and loved, everyone. Bald Brad, Army Strong. Appreciate it. If you guys have questions in the chat, I'll hang around for just a little bit. Brad, you off today? I am actually off today. Yeah, I'm going to take off today. But if you guys have questions in the chat, I always like to stay around just for a little bit, almost do like a mailbag, open-ended questions. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks, Chip. I appreciate it. Great show, Brad. Thank you. Vote. Yes, absolutely vote. Oh, yeah. I will be voting on Tuesday myself. I am not an early voter. I love the experience of going in after work and voting. I always have been that way. It's like a big day for me. Have a great day, Brad. Yeah, you too, Terry. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Bets. Bet says great show. Bet says great show. Thank you, guys. I'm glad you enjoy it. It's nice having your feedback. If you want something different, email me, let me know. Pam says, actually, I have never heard of that comedian myself. However, I've seen several comedians over the years, and that's what they do. They insult everyone, and people need to get over it. Yeah, it's interesting how many people, it's surprising me, because like I said, Tony Hinchcliffe is, he's been in comedy for, he's a writer for a lot of the roasters. He has the number one comedic podcast in the world. I mean, you'll get like 175 to 200,000 people watching his podcast like every Monday. His show sells out every week out of the mothership out of Dallas, Joe Rogan's comedy club. What time you on Tuesday? Probably right when I get home. So I'll probably 3 votings on my way home from work, probably like 4:30 maybe. That's going to be my guess. Pacific Standard Time, 4:30 Pacific Standard Time. And that Sam guy looks like a mole. Oh, geez, Pam. Have a great weekend. You too, Cece. Good seeing you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Peggy. Yeah, Kill Tony is a modern day Don Rickles. Yeah, absolutely. Which is weird. It's funny enough. Somebody was mentioning Joe Rogan was mentioning Don Rickles on a prior podcast, was asking about the whole Tony Hinchcliffe thing. And it's just different times. People had thicker skin when Don Rickles was around. You know what I mean? Don Rickles roasted Ronald Reagan. I don't know if you guys remember that. It was a good roast. I mean, Don Rickles said stuff that would be like, people would, oh, it's racist. Oh, it's terrible. People can't take a joke anymore. People make fun of me all the time. Oh my God, forgot about Don Rickles. Don Rickles was freaking hilarious, man. That guy was good, man. May his soul rest in peace. Brad, thinking about getting the Rumble with no ads. It seems to spin quite a bit trying to get to watch. Is it better if you have the membership? I don't know, Dennis. Denise. You can maybe check the quality of streaming. So like if you're trying to stream on like 1080p, it's gonna lag a little bit compared to maybe if you do like 720 or something. It really depends, and it depends on your internet connection. You know what I mean? Check your super chat. Did I miss it? Oh my God, I did. I missed 2. Holy crap. Drapespeed, $3. Thank you so much. Shout out to you guys in the chat for doing that. Thank you. I feel terrible. Speed with the $3. Thank you so much. And again, congratulations on having a baby. That's awesome. Eric Birch, again, always coming in hot. Good morning, Patriot family. I want to do a sincere apology to those that actually contributed to hard-earned money and didn't get a live read during the actual show. I guess we're still doing it now, but I feel terrible nonetheless. Sorry about that, guys. $5 over there. Did I miss anything over at Rumble? So Bet says Rumble Premium is great. Again, thank you, Eric, and thank you, Drape. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And also shout out to the Patriots in the chat for highlighting that. Thank you. That Ian guy looks like a beady-eyed mole. Oh, goodness gracious. If Don did one roast today, he would be canceled. Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. Totally. Yeah, they're saying that Rumble Premium is good. And you know what? They need it, you guys. I'll be honest. Especially somebody that's like a conservative small channel like mine, you don't really get people reaching out. Well, granted, we're kind of getting up there now to where we should be getting like sponsors, like actual like I'll be doing a sponsor like on the show, like, oh, this is like fully sponsored by like ExpressVPN or something like that. Like we're climbing up there now to where we're getting enough views a month to where it should start happening, I think, soon. I expect maybe more sponsors when we hit 100,000 subscribers. That's the goal. Probably my goal next year, 2025, is to try to hit 100,000. So that's going to be tough. I do the mail-in here in Florida, and yes, I check it. Good. Yeah, I love that, Mizzy. Yeah, I mean, if you could vote early, do it. Obviously, I could vote early as well. I got the mail-in. I just love the experience of something. So for me, I just have always. I used to stand in line with my dad to go vote. Before he passed. So we would stand there and vote Trump. I remember standing in line for him in 2016, voting for Trump. And then he wasn't around in 2020. So it's kind of a sad thing. So I had to walk in by myself. And normally it's kind of our thing to do together. I won't do mail-in ballot. Too many opportunities for the ballot to get misplaced or not counted. Yeah. Teach these lefty comedy again. Yeah. Comedy. Yeah. NG is putting up a fence around the White House. Good to know. I'm going to buy the coffee. Yeah, the 1775 coffee is really good. I drink a ton of coffee, you guys. A ton of coffee. And so I love bitter, but I mean, I don't put creamer. I'm out right now, but I just drink it black. And if you guys want a mug, drink it out of this. This is the same mug I've had. I've never had a new mug, and it is cracked. I want to see if we can find it here. Did you guys see that crack right there? Yo, I dropped this from really high up. I go, shit. And I didn't even think anything happened to it, but yeah, there's a crack there. Anyways, okay, enough of me rambling. All right, I love you guys. Take care of each other. I voted early in Florida. I can check to make sure my vote was counted. Yeah, good. Yeah, vote early. I'm going to go in and vote on Tuesday. I'll make sure I try to get an extra vote. I voted sign sticker. And with that being said, take care of one another, folks. I got some things to do today. And I'll be back here tomorrow here on the Bald Brad Show. If I don't see you tomorrow, have a lovely weekend. We'll be back Monday and definitely a Tuesday morning and a stream for the freaking election night. We're being told we're not going to know the results, but hopefully it's a landslide. With that being said, take care of one another, Patriots. I'll see you later here on the Bald Brad Show.